This clip of Trump whining about Kamala has me laughing my ass off. He literally goes, I'm not exhausted. Kamala's the one that's exhausted. I'm not tired. She's the one that looks tired. And with 13 days to go, he does seem pretty exhausted. So I'd like to use this video as an opportunity to break down the final pitches of both candidates as we head into the home stretch of the 2024 election. And I'd also like to break down some of the more recent polling that we've gotten. You may leave this video feeling a little bit better if you've been worried about the race. So before we jump in, drop a like, drop some blue hearts, subscribe, and I want to start off with this clip of Harry Enton describing the state of the race. He says that the Democratic panic is quite overblown, and he explains why in a very concise and easy to understand way. I think you guys will enjoy this.
Path to 270 for Kamala Harris is very clear right now. You know, you talk about Wisconsin. Let's turn that blue. All right, that gets Harris to 236 electoral votes. How about Michigan? We'll give her blue there. 251 electoral votes. How about Pennsylvania? Look at this. To 270 electoral votes if those Washington Post polls are in fact correct. And so she has a very clear path to 270 electoral votes. Of course, Aaron, I don't just like looking at one poll. I like to look at an aggregate of polling. So let's take a look at the recent aggregate of polls in these blue wall states. Now, what do we see? We see very close contests. It's actually closer than the Washington Post polls. But again, less than a point lead for Harris in Wisconsin, less than a point lead in Michigan, less than a point lead in Pennsylvania. But the bottom line is Kamala Harris, based upon these polling data, both from the Washington Post and in the averages, has a very clear path at this particular point, just based upon those states, to 270 electoral votes. The bottom line is I don't understand the Democratic panic right now.
Okay, so Harry Enton makes a point that's quite obvious. All Kamala Harris has to do is win those 3 states and she gets to 270. We've all done that math before, but it seems very reassuring in this moment knowing that VP Harris is up in all 3 states. And I just want you to think about it like this for a second. There is a reality where people have PTSD from 2016, so they tried to correct the polling in 2020. But then in 2020, the polling was also quite off. It said that Biden was going to win Wisconsin by 8 points. He won it by 1 point. So there's a reality where we double corrected. We've corrected it from 2016, we've corrected it from 2020, and now heading into 2024, we don't have the pandemic and we've overcorrected. So maybe Harris will win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, those 3 blue wall states, by a nice 3 or 4 percentage points, which would be really, really nice. So I just want you to think about it like that for 1 second. Maybe the polling error will not be in favor of Trump this time around.
Now, because the path is clear.
It's clear, and just to make it very clear for people, that would mean she doesn't need to win any of those other states you have there, which includes North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia. I mean, that's just to put an emphasis on it. But North Carolina is must win for Trump on any path he has to 270, I know. You got early voting in North Carolina that has started, also in Georgia. And it has shattered records in both places. In Georgia, though, what is the number now, Harry? More than 1.5 million?
1.5 million. Yeah.
Okay. And I had seen somewhere that it's double-digit percentage point, double-digit of who voted before. It could be 13% or so already of the electorate. I mean, those numbers are pretty stunning. So what are you looking for in Georgia?
1.5 million early voters in Georgia, if you missed that.
Yeah, what am I looking for in these states? I mean, look, I think we're going to have a very close race in Georgia. Look at this. We got a point lead in the polls there for Donald Trump, well within the margin of error. Less than a point in North Carolina. 2-point lead for Donald Trump, again, well within the margin of error in Arizona. Less than a point lead for Kamala Harris in Nevada. So, even if we gave, Donald Trump, say, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, you can still, in fact, get Kamala Harris to 270 by giving her North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. So again, I don't understand this Democratic panic.
I mean, okay, the panic is understandable. The fact that Donald Trump even has a 50% chance in the first place should blow everybody's mind. That is a failure in and of itself. I'm okay with Kamala Harris's path as he laid it out, but I just don't like the idea that Trump still has a viable path whatsoever. Now, on the flip side of this, I don't want to give you guys too much hope and make you complacent. Harry Enton explains in this clip that I won't play that VP Harris is not doing too well with independents, and Trump is actually ahead with independents in many swing states. If you look here, Biden was winning by 11 points in November. A few months ago, Harris was winning by 5 points, but now she's only up by 2 points. And as Harry Enton points out in this clip, only Nixon, Ford, and Kerry have won independents and lost, saying that if Trump wins with independents, that might be game over. So we do need to be careful, but back to some hope. Back to some hope, and then I'll play some clips of Trump. Here are some lines in Houston, Texas, going out to vote for Kamala and Colin Allred, hopefully. Look at this. This is an early voting line in Houston, Texas. That is amazing. Here's the University of Wisconsin Madison campus as alumni Young Gravy leads a flood of students to go vote. Boom, look at all of these students, these young students, they're following Young Gravy, waving flags. I'm assuming many of them will be voting blue. It seems more like a broad voter mobilization thing. They're not promoting one specific candidate from all of the signs that I've read, but what they are doing are trying to get people to vote. Getting people out to vote. I don't see any actual Kamala or any actual Trump gear, but I see people excited to go vote, which is absolutely amazing. And this brings us on to Donald Trump talking to Mark Levin, just whining, complaining about how he's not tired, Kamala's tired.
You know, she actually said, oh, Trump is getting tired. I'm not getting tired. She's getting tired. She's the one that's not working. Now, if I go and criticize something, they said, the media goes, oh, he's played right into her hands. You know, it's, in other words, if you defend yourself, like in the debates, you said things that, maybe my crowds weren't as big as I was saying. I said, no, not only are they big, I turn away people for every rally. So I say that, and they go, he played right into her hand. Well, what are you supposed to do? Just let him say it. It is so terrible.
That is taking the bait. There's an old saying in politics that if you're explaining, you're losing, and Trump has spent this entire campaign cycle explaining himself away. I mean, listen to the childlike projection just at the beginning of this clip.
You know, she actually said, oh, Trump is getting tired. I'm not getting tired. She's getting tired.
I'm not getting tired. She's getting tired. That is some playground type stuff right there, in the same way that his kindergarten type names are. But back to the main point, Donald Trump always takes the bait. Now, if you look at Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, she was always the one that was not exactly taking the bait, but always defending herself. She was always on the defense. Donald Trump would throw out a wild conspiracy theory, and Hillary Clinton thought that she could appeal to people's common sense and debunk that conspiracy theory. But in reality, it was just Hillary Clinton playing on Donald Trump's field, if you know what I mean. So if Donald Trump wants to claim that he's not tired, Kamala's tired, here's a clip of Donald Trump falling asleep at an event just the other day in Doral, Florida. And then I want to compare that with a clip of Kamala Harris speaking today. Look at this dude. His eyes are closed. His eyes are closed while people are talking to him about what they need. And then, again, he dozes off for a second, and that is exactly what he was doing in court. You can see on camera what he was doing in court. The journalists were describing Trump as sitting there with his eyes closed, so now it makes more sense. And here's Kamala Harris talking about Trump, then I'll tell you what she said on Twitter about this.
Now, let's listen.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify in his mind as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials.
Mike Pence.
It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas.
Kamala Harris kind of snapped right there. Wow, that was an amazing speech. She then said on Twitter as a follow-up, Donald Trump is out for unchecked power. He wants a military like Adolf Hitler had who will be loyal to him, not our Constitution. He is unhinged, unstable, and given a second term, there would be no one to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses. Now, I want to play the rest of this clip, but I am wearing my Kamala for President merch. But I also want to say, I want to do more pro-democracy videos like this. I've spent almost this entire video talking about VP Harris, talking about our pro-democracy candidates and people turning out to vote. Let me know if you want to see more content like this or what you want to see after the election if Kamala wins, because you guys will be helping me guide the path. Let's finish this clip.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power.
Yep.
The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
Incredibly well said, so presidential, and while this was happening, Donald Trump was on Truth Social saying, Kamala Harris' sinking campaign has become so toxic that Democrat senators in 4 different states are using me in their advertisements and stating that they are with President Trump on tariffs and numerous other things. These Democrats have voted with crooked Joe Biden. They only pretend to be on my side. I mean, this dude is melting down on Truth Social. He then said, why would Muslims support lying Kamala Harris when she embraces Muslim-hating Liz Cheney, a total loser whose father brought years of war and death to the Middle East? I mean, even Dick Cheney did not do a Muslim ban on people from primarily Muslim-majority countries, but then exempt countries where he was doing business in. That is a new level of corruption and xenophobia that even Dick Cheney was never able to reach. I don't know how much credibility this has, but Mark Halperin, a journalist who's been around for a while, says he's been pitched a story that could end Trump's campaign, and he said this today. He said it was worse than whatever the story that just came out is, and he says he wasn't able to verify this story, but this could derail the campaign entirely. Either way, if you enjoyed this video, if you appreciate what I do, drop a like, subscribe, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.